I'm 30 and I think I've had an iPhone in my back pocket since the age of 12, and I can't really remember what boredom feels like anymore. And I've just caught a train for 4 hours from Birmingham to Edinburgh. And if you were to ask me to record, I don't know, 5 or even 6 videos of that 4 hour doom scroll session, I don't think I could even give you one, which is pretty insane. And I've started this YouTube channel, and it seems like I'm trying to life max and share my experiences and struggles that we all seem to be going through, and people kind of talk about it or they just dance over it. I'm just getting this out here. I'm not right or wrong, but I'm just wanting to share and kind of articulate and express what it is that I'm actually thinking and what is it I'm actually seeing in these quiet moments. And before I just go into it, my last video where I spoke about me kicking weed at 22 and what I got back, there was a lot of engagement on that. There was a lot of positive comments, a lot of negative comments. The interaction was fantastic. So I really appreciate everyone who went from my first video to the second video. And for the new people around here, it's fantastic to meet you. So let's get off into it. I think everyone wants to blame the iPhone, especially if you're born in the past 10 years or 15 years. You'll probably give it an iPad or an iPhone straight off the bat, straight from the tit to the iPhone. I don't think Steve Jobs were in the world for me in 2007. I think it was actually the Xbox, and I love the Xbox. I am a generational nerd in the respect of when we went to high school, every science, math, English class, or whatever class it was, would be talking about what rank we were on COD 4, what we were doing on Halo 3, and we're basically reliving our nights in these school classes, which were just unbelievable. Hours and hours of it on a headset, screaming at lads I'd never met. That's where I first got the hit of something is happening and I'm part of it. And I just did not want that to stop, and I was getting agitated at every thought of every hour that I wasn't on the Xbox, which is pretty insane. And you can start to see, if you watch some of my previous videos, I do have somewhat, like I think most people do, an addictive personality, especially when you don't have accountability as a child or even as an adult. And the phone didn't break me. I think it found me already broken in terms of like my thought process, and it was just a portable online device which had access to everything and anything. It's the best, right? If you think about it, the iPhone for me, like my first iPhone, it come at Christmas, I think when I was about 12, and I can remember it more than I can remember any actual Christmas present in my life. And the height of what we used it for briefly was an app where you just could pretend to drink beer from it, if you recall, back in the day. We thought that was the funniest thing in the world, the most powerful piece of technology ever invented, and we used it as a fake pint. Like, generally, we thought we had peaked at that point. And then if we slowly start to, progress through the years, when college hit when I was 16, that's what tends to happen. You go to sixth form of college in the UK. 16 years old, Facebook was massive. MSN kind of went. MSN was this instant messaging where you would basically message the boys saying, yeah, I'm cool, or you just message them stupid gifs, or if there was girls that you had no courage to speak to in school, you would send them, what you up to, do you want to go out with me, and then you'd break up maybe 10 minutes later. And then after Facebook kind of hit and you've started to really navigate the online world, Tinder turned up, and the entire dating economy for every teenage boy in the country fell over inside about 6 months. And then the best thing, when I actually think about it, if I'm actually to nostalgia max here, Vine. If any of you guys had witnessed or experienced what Vine was, that was the first scrolling content where every video had a maximum capacity length. I think it was it was either 6 or 7 seconds. And you'd watch for hours, never quite knowing where that time went. But it was great. It was a cultural thing. Everyone would be quoting Vines that they had seen, and it felt like a social piece at the time, and that was our humour. It was pretty broken, but we thought that was hilarious, right? Then COVID, and whatever was wrong before COVID really detonated. TikTok stopped being a kids app, Reels arrived, Shorts arrived, the whole thing revolved around the algorithm. You stop choosing what to watch. If you really start to think about it, the feed chose you, and it's still choosing us to this day, and it's never got worse. It's only got better and better, I guess, for these tech companies in terms of engagement, and it got really, really good at it. And that's where I think most of us are, not deciding, just having these algorithms decided for us. And if you actually look at what I use my phone for, not what I'd say it's actually supposed to be for, but what it does, it's a bit of a state when I write it down. And I think, I open Instagram and to see if a mate has sent me a meme. Half the people sending me memes are people I don't really speak to anymore. We don't have a relationship. We have a meme exchange. We're keeping our friendship corpse warm by tagging each other in reels at 11 o'clock or, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the truth of it. And I'm probably closer to the group chat than I am to most of the people in it in it. And I think that's just modern friendship, especially from previous relationships, I guess. Then if you go onto the explore page, I'll start on football clips, gym throwbacks, gaming nostalgia from when I was a kid. And I guess I'm enjoying these, like nostalgia, like just being a nostalgia merchant, because I'm looking basically for younger versions of myself. And 20 minutes later, I'm watching some politician in a country that I don't even live in, or even if it's in my country, and it's just provocative. It gets me angry, and it knows that my engagement is longer because I'm interested in these topics, because everyone seems to have some sort of interest, whether you're on the left or the right or central. And I think that's insane that it can provoke such an emotion in you. And it comes down to, in my opinion, you've got to have accountability. You've got to be able to notice this and just not accept what's happening to you. But for whatever reason, we all seem to be stuck in this trance where we want this to happen because it's easy for us. The decision was made for me 3 swipes earlier by a system that knows what holds my attention. You know, a brilliant Sunday afternoon, that. Starting off by looking at cooking videos and gym edits because I'm trying to get all inspired, and then I ended up invested in Armenian local politics. I don't know how we get there, but we get there every time without fail. And then I'll go across to YouTube, you know, podcasts mostly. Then I look at a bit of Spotify again, just love the 80s, love the podcasts, and WhatsApp. And I'll always spend so much time on crypto exchanges, refreshing my wallet, or looking at financial markets, or looking at some sort of doomer news. You know, that's a lot. And if you start looking at what screen time that is, I actually went to go and check what my screen time was, because I thought, okay, this is actually a pretty good idea. I thought it could be quite powerful to, you know, share and showcase my screen time numbers. I don't even have it turned on, so I think that says a lot about me, which I have now turned on because I'm trying to get better on the back of this. But honestly, the bit that gets me the most isn't the time, it's the absence. As I said, I cannot tell you what I've watched this afternoon. I cannot recall 10 minutes of it, and this happens multiple times a day, every day, for years. And I am sat here making content about it on a YouTube channel, which is, well, the irony is not lost to me, obviously. But this is the question that I want to ask and I guess discuss. I've always looked at my parents who were always so invested in sitting in front of their TV. And when we were growing up, we always thought that TV would brainwash our parents because that's what they wanted to do. Every generation has wanted to mong out. My parents would work all day, they would cook dinner, they'd do everything for the kids. And then their desire to switch off, to consume something easy, to not think for an hour, that's not new. I think that's just a human flaw which everyone goes through. And I think the algorithms right now, they're exploiting the hell out of that, and they are so successful. That's just being tired. The desire is ancient, just to feel tired and wanting to mong out and just to do absolutely nothing. And your dad's TV, which is in the living room, my phone's in my pocket, I take it to the toilet, I take it to the bus stop, I take it on a plane. I'm scrolling alone where my dad would be watching TV with someone or even with his kids. Even right now, I don't want to watch TV with my missus because I find the TV boring, and we will reluctantly, or even just sit together, just scrolling together, not consuming the same content, which means that we're actually living different lives than for them moments, which is pretty dramatic. And I'm curious about this more than I'm actually worried, but I think we might have killed boredom, not in a dramatic sense, but just in the sense of, I cannot remember the last time I sat with nothing to do, like no music, audiobooks, podcast, or even game, just no input at all. And that's a pretty scary thought. And maybe that's nothing. Maybe my generation's just doing the new version of what every generation panics about. Maybe the boomers were fine after 30 years of TV and we'll be fine after 30 years of this. But I generally don't know. But I notice it, and nobody really talks about that or that point, which bothers me a little bit. And I lived my childhood behind a screen, and my childhood, when I look back on it, was utterly fantastic. And I was wrapped in a blanket, I would be in my bedroom, headset on, leveling up a virtual character instead of myself, while I was getting better at Search and Destroy or trying to record 360 no-scopes on Rust or High Rise. It was the best. It was unbelievable. And what was happening is that now I look back on it with an older head and a wiser head, I was actually getting worse at talking to people. I come out of my teens with the dreaded social anxiety problem that I obviously got from not interacting with humans for long periods of time because I wanted to play Xbox for 10 hours a day. And when you feel anxious and dramatic like this, the thing you would naturally do, or what I naturally done, was just retreat back to my bedroom to play Call of Duty even more. I've gotten a lot better in my mid-20s, you know, with sports, seeing friends, family, getting outside, even with gaming, and still gaming with mates in a room. But the algorithm, that hangover, I think that hangover is still there. The phone's still in my pocket, the reflex to reach out for it. Even when, I don't know if you've ever done this, where you've been scrolling on your phone and you put your phone down and you then pick it up just to look at the same app that you just decided that you got bored with, but you forgot that you were bored with that app and that's what made you drop it. And again, I sound dramatic when I say that, but I don't know what else to call it. Like, we are at this point just basically cyborgs now, where the phone has every important function of modern life. It has all our mobile banking. That's how we communicate with one another. And if we want to know anything and everything at any point in time, we have access to that, which is pretty impressive, right? It's the best, with the most upgraded, as far as we're aware, the most upgraded civilization to date. But we do some pretty questionable things with this technology. So if we know this, and I know this, and you know this, why don't we just put the thing down? Is it just herd mentality? Is it that we don't want to delete WhatsApp, we don't want to delete Instagram because we want to be connected? We use the phone as a bridge to the real world so we can see all these cultural and significant moments, which for the most of it is just guff. And the cycle that no one really admits, I'm sure you have, I've done this many times, you delete Instagram or TikTok or X or WhatsApp, and you feel free for a month and you feel incredibly responsible. And then you're going, okay, I'm responsible now, and re-download it. And then you triple your usage, you triple that fucker overnight, which is insane. And we just feel that need to be so connected and so plugged in. And working in AI, I generally think that we're going to be more plugged in, not less. The phone is, as I said, the bridge to whatever the next thing is. And there is no version of the next 20 years where the average person uses less technology. So I think we're going the other way. And having or being the first generation in human history connected to literally everything. And we've got people like myself learning how to chop an onion, which I guess I'm trying to gain a life skill, but I'm 30 years old, trying to Google or even use AI to give me correct chopping techniques. It's pretty dramatic and it's pretty sad, and I think it shows what all our parents and grandparents of what they had learnt through their use is something that I had missed because I've replaced that with screen time and aloneness. So where am I actually at with all this? I think I'm just trying to be accountable for my algorithm going forward. I've made steps in the past to delete apps, and I think a lot of other people have, but for whatever reason, I still don't seem to be accepting that. The feed isn't something that's happening to me. It's something that I've trained over years and years to send me things, to hold my attention. That's the whole purpose of the algorithm. And if you don't really think about that when you're scrolling through after 5 minutes, then it can really get you and you can send you down all these dark paths. And as I said, I think most people's opinions on things are subconsciously trained by the algorithm, which is a scary and a completely different topic, which I don't want to dive into. But it is an interesting point. And do I always succeed? No, most days I'm always doing the same scroll, evidently, and I'm trying to change that. I've just turned my screen time capturing on, so hopefully I can catch myself and measure that a lot better. My attention span right now is generally cooked, and I'm saying that as a 30-year-old in tech who reads less than I did at 19, and I watch fewer films all the way through than what I used to. So that's where I'm at. My algorithm is cooked. My attention span is just non-existent, but that's what 15 years in front of a screen is going to do to you, like hardcore. And as I said, none of this is advice. This is just something which I've noticed on my 4-hour train journey today, which was a real eye-opener. I've tried to delete apps, I've tried to go around on this circle, and ultimately these are just things that I want to talk about, and that's why I've created this YouTube channel. I wanted to talk about weed, I wanted to talk about the job market, and these are all struggles and voices which I've just been going through, and with hindsight and even with a couple of hours of reflection, you do feel a lot better when you organise your thoughts and you just want to publish that and put that on the internet for people to silently judge you. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully I can see you in the next one. I've really enjoyed all the engagement on the previous videos, and hopefully you enjoyed some good old Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I'll see if I can boot up MW2 for the next backdrop. Cheers guys, have a good one.